Hello, everybody. It's Coach Kary, your fitness and well-being advisor for thePause. I am really excited today because I have a good friend and somebody who I admire and respect in the speaking industry. Her name is Debbie Seidel, and she is a registered dental hygienist with a Bachelor of Science, and she's also an entrepreneur. So Debbie has her own business called Dental Practice Solutions, where she speaks all over North America, working with dental professionals to elevate the hygiene, patient experience, and care. She's also got a side gig, like many of us in this day and age. She's the CEO and founder of Celebrity Smiles Club with dental grade tooth whitening products. And if you want to find Debbie, you can see her name on the screen, Debbie Seidel, Seidel, and you can find her on LinkedIn. Welcome, Debbie, to our The Pause community. And thank you so much for being here today to share your experience. Just tell everyone a little bit about your background and your experience in the dental world.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm really honored that you thought to have me as a guest. I had a dream when I was 12 years old, and for career day, I did my project on becoming a dental hygienist. And then I went to USC, the University of Southern California. I loved it so much that wanted to stay working there. And then they somehow promoted me to be an assistant professor there. Clinically, I helped the senior dental hygiene students practice and take their mock boards. And
Mm.
we don't get paid very much working at a private university. And my husband said, why don't you start your own business and get paid very well for it? So in 2000, I started Dental Practice Solutions, and immediately I started speaking all over California, and that expanded to literally I've been all over the world. In fact, a fun story is that about 12 years ago, I had a Facebook contest, and a dentist in Cyprus, yes, the country of Cyprus, he won 3 months of coaching with me. And in August, my husband and I are going to meet him in Athens, Greece.
Oh,
So,
that's an amazing story. I love to hear that.
yeah,
Good for
so
you.
yeah, it's been an exciting journey. And then during the pandemic, we had the economic decline in '07. I started this system with teeth whitening to as a carrot to bring patients into the dental office. They got free whitening. So I have this whitening pen now with a light, an LED light. And the red LED lights, have become very popular for rejuvenation. And I'm one of the first to have the red LED light. It's a red LED light for healing, soothing, comforting.
And
It's
I
just
was lucky enough to get your tooth
one of the
whitening.
first.
People are
Really
always
one of
asking me where this beautiful white smell comes from. These are my natural teeth. I've never had any work done, and they're whitened by Debbie. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So yes, it's just been an amazing journey, and here I am today with you. So I'm very appreciative to be here.
Awesome. Let's transition into helping the women in the prime time. We like to call it the prime time. We don't want to focus on,
Ooh,
the end of life or the menopause. It just sounds better. We're in the prime
yeah,
time of life, right? We're in
I
that
love
time of
it.
life where we can do things like create our own business and travel around the world. So we're in the prime time of life. Now, I've heard of things like dry mouth, burning mouth. I've heard of, these conditions. What at home, so here I am in menopause finally, what might I notice in my mouth that might be
Mhm.
different and could be related to menopause?
Yes, I that was great. I thought you were going to ask me that, so I have a long list of things. So burning mouth is one of them. It's our all of our soft tissues, the mucosa gets to be at a fragile point in our life, like
Mm.
baby tissue. We go back to that. Very delicate. We get ulcers very easily. We get a dry mouth, so we're at risk for getting cavities. And we are more likely to have gum disease because of the dry mouth. We can also get inflammation of the soft tissue throughout our mouth more easily. Also, we start to have bone deterioration, not just in our, skeletal muscle, but also the bones that hold our jaw in place.
Oh, we might not think of that. You just said two things that I'm going, Okay, my friends are all talking about dryness down there. You don't
Hmm.
think about this dryness as well. And it makes sense because
Hmm.
all our soft tissues, right? And no, yes, I
Yes.
did have a dry mouth. And then bone loss. How often are we thinking about the jaw? Thanks so much for bringing that up, Debbie. Continue.
So what's happening, and you just made me think of this. So what's happening, I'm seeing a lot of people in our age group, they're missing some teeth. They had a crown, now they've got new decay, a cavity around that crown. And what they're choosing is to have the tooth extracted. It's sad to see that I see people with missing teeth. They have millions of dollars, but nobody's understood how to speak to them. So they value an implant. An implant is one procedure, hopefully one time by an expert, and it lasts for the rest of your life. So when we're 60, hopefully, I mean, my goal is to have at least 30 more years of life. I don't want to have a hole in my mouth for 30 more years.
Mm,
We do have altered taste perception, and you'll notice that a lot of elderly people, not just dry mouth is causing cavities, but they are supplementing sugar for that altered taste. And then you're more likely to have fungal infections, candida, these kind of things.
yeah.
So what I brought with me today, because I figured you'd ask me that, this is my favorite spry. You can get it on Amazon. Can you see that
Yep,
spry?
spry. I see it.
Um, like a Tic Tac, but this has xylitol. The main ingredient is xylitol. And xylitol, first of all, you're sucking on something.
So
It
the
adds
more
saliva.
moisture when you're sucking, yeah.
Mhm. The other thing is xylitol alters the bacteria in your mouth. So
I've heard
you
of
get
this. I've heard that xylitol is a good alternative. Tell us
bad
more about that.
bugs.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? Another thing that happens. Oh, I forgot to mention this. I just thought of it. I don't understand this, but we get acid reflux.
Mhm.
There's something with our esophagus, it changes. And acid reflux is a horrible situation. The minute you lie down in bed, you get this horrible feeling right here and acid. So, if you get grossed out easily, close your ears, put your hands over your ears. But I never get cavities. But all of a sudden, I realized because I got acid reflux about a year ago. And I didn't want to take the medication. I hate taking medications. I want to solve the problem on my own. What happened was I got a pinhole. It wasn't even a cavity because I saw it happening. So I put on fluoride varnish. Now, I know there's a lot of talk about fluoride and how toxic it is. Fluoride is your friend, guys. When used correctly, it is your friend. And what I was able to do is put a little bit of fluoride on. I tapped it on that hole. And by the time I got to see my dentist, he said, this is not a true cavity. It was a hole only in the enamel. A
Mm.
cavity is when it goes through that second layer, the dentin.
Mhm.
But the fluoride was able to reverse and put a halt to any
Mm.
destruction deeper in the enamel. So within 60 seconds, I had a new tooth. The dentist fixed it very quickly.
Wow, is the when you're saying to put fluoride and use it in a situation like that, is that I remember something called MI paste, or is there a certain product?
That would be another one. MI paste. But at your dentist, if you're afraid of fluoride, I'm telling you, fluoride varnish. Imagine it's a gloss. And there's a newer type of gloss. It's clear and it's not so chunky, sticky. It's
Mm.
made by Kettenbach. It's a German company, but I love their fluoride, and it goes on easily by your dentist, your dental office, and it's the right concentration. And if you're at risk, like some of us are with dry mouth, every 90 days you get that fluoride treatment. It might cost $40 to $60, but you're going to reverse. Like I was able to stop, I put a halt to any decay cavities. The bacteria did not go through to that second layer. I was able
Mm.
to halt that.
Wow, well, that's an excellent point is, at this time of life, if you're experiencing dry mouth, you're more prone to cavities. So why not do something that could be an intervention? We're not saying to be maybe drinking fluoride every day
No,
but at your dentist on your visits, it might be a
yes.
great way to prevent some damage to your teeth in this prime time of life.
And, here's the thing, Kary. This is maybe a little bit off topic, but this is going to be a lot of people are getting disgruntled if we have a lot of people hearing this because there's a lot of talk about fluoride and the toxicity.
Hmm.
Kary, everything has a level of toxicity.
Yeah.
I mean, what you washed your hands with, and it's how is your body responding to it, and how much of that toxic material are you being exposed to?
Right.
So when you go to your dentist and get a fluoride varnish, they've already tested and researched for 50 plus years what is the appropriate level to put on your teeth. And I'm
Mm,
telling you that the fluoride varnish is going to be most cost effective and most beneficial to prevent a toothache, to prevent thousands of dollars in a new crown, to
yeah.
stop you from losing that tooth.
And I can just see drawing the analogy towards like taking a GLP-1. A lot of people have big opinions and are, maybe cutting that down. But if it's going to prevent you from heading into metabolic disease and diabetes,
Yes.
and heart disease and brain,
Yes.
then maybe that person needs that GLP-1. And it's also bringing up to mind, with oh, what was the other thing I was just thinking of? GLP-1, and there was something else I was thinking of. But anyways, oh, I know, HT, hormone therapy. So for
Yes.
every person, we need to, risk benefit. And for fluoride at the prime time of life, with a dry mouth, if you're presenting with that, it's probably a good intervention. So discuss with your dentist.
And Kary, that was amazing what you just said. I am at high risk for breast cancer.
Mm,
I'm not, I mean, knock on wood, I'm the one woman in my family at this point in prime,
the
my
prime
prime
time.
time, I have not had breast cancer. And I went to a breast specialist back in 2016.
Hmm.
It was amazing. She taught me about estrogen. And
Mm,
again, Kary, people are freaked out over estrogen. So
yeah.
again, I'm going to say everything in moderation. And for those women who are listening right now, when, I'm at high risk for breast cancer, but we need estrogen
Yeah.
and at the right level, it's going to benefit you, not be toxic where it causes breast cancer.
And it's so good that we have so much information. I'm so blessed. I feel so blessed to be turning 55 and getting into the prime time of life in that transition time and to have so much information at my fingertips. And thank you for coming here to provide some information in the dental field. So I've noticed some of these things going on with my mouth. Now I've started to make the connection. I go to my dentist office and I see my hygienist and my dentist. What are they maybe seeing that I might be missing? Like they might see something that I have no clue is going on in my mouth. Like what kind
Yes.
of things are you guys seeing in the office that you would want to make sure I'm aware of? And
Yes. So there's thinning of the oral mucosa. So you're going to have, every 28 days, the epithelial lining can have a turnover. So if somebody does have gum disease and has gum treatment, they refer to it as a deep cleaning. It's more than deep cleaning, it's gum therapy.
mm,
The epithelial lining is going to be more slow to
mm,
rejuvenate and turn over.
mm.
You're going to have that salivary hypofunction.
And you can, like the dentist or hygienist would notice that.
Yes, we'll notice it. We'll notice some oral lesions that haven't been there before. And for the dental hygienists who are listening,
Mm,
really great is the intraoral photos. And every new patient should have at least, I would say at least 6 intraoral photos taken as a new patient. So
mm,
you could see before and then 10 years later if they're continually coming back.
Yeah.
Every 3 to 5 years, patients should have a comprehensive evaluation. That's checking the health of your gums with
Hmm.
6-point probings. Recession is, you're going to notice more recession. Furcation involvement is where in between the roots you're losing bone.
Mm.
Mobility can happen because of deterioration of the bone. Mobility can happen because you're clenching or grinding. And
Mm.
sleep apnea is something that you're more likely to see as well, because we tend to gain weight. We just, it's like this morning I woke up, I actually got on the scale and I'm at my pre-pandemic weight.
Oh, good for you. That must feel great.
No, when I got the COVID, I lost 12 pounds and now it's back.
Oh, I get you.
I It's my pre-pandemic weight
Okay, okay.
and I hate it, and it's like we can gain weight so easily, but
Yes.
it's like whatever you do, it just doesn't come off.
Yeah, yeah, I
And
hear you.
so now you're more likely when if you go into severe, if you're morbidly obese now, my doctor, by the way, will say I'm slightly obese.
Well, geez, Debbie, you're in your, I don't want to give away your age or anything, but I know you're, you look amazing to me for, I know,
Thanks. I don't consider myself obese, but if
yeah,
I
no,
were to gain 20 pounds, I would probably go into sleep apnea.
yeah, okay.
Um, so
So what,
there are a lot of changes. What's happening is osteoclasts, that the bone is changing. We have more inflammatory issues.
what does that
Water
look
loss.
like? What do you see with the inflammation? Because that's huge.
Oh, okay. So it should be coral pink
Mm-hmm.
and flat. And so if you're going like this on your gums, you see edema, you can
Yep.
see it. Well, same thing with your gums. You
Uh,
press like this, you shouldn't have any bleeding if you go like this on your gums.
okay.
You shouldn't see the edema, the, the
The
puffy.
impression, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the impression. Thank you. So it's those are some of the top things that you're going to see as a
Mm,
hygienist. Even
wow.
you as a could see, you're going to see geographic tongue, the geography on your tongue because of the dry mouth, because of the inflammatory response. So
Mm,
stick your tongue out. Ah, see that white coating?
uh-huh.
That's inflammation.
Uh,
That's
and
inflammation.
so
It shouldn't be there.
the dentist is really your first line of health, I believe, when it comes to they see so much, and what's going on in your mouth is potentially going on everywhere. If there's inflammation in here, there's probably
Yes.
inflammation in other areas of your body, right? So it's really important to get
Yes,
into the
absolutely.
dentist.
And when I started speaking out there to the world in 2000, I was saying we don't know what came first, systemic inflammation or oral. And
Hmm.
I can tell you that it's pretty solid where it's oral inflammation that's starting all of this.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
It's
because
oral
I,
inflammation. In fact, okay, here's one thing for you. If you have oral inflammation, for those listening, you think that bleeding gums when you floss, if you haven't flossed in the last week, floss your teeth. And if it bleeds, you have an oral inflammation.
mm,
And that oral inflammation in your mouth, year after year after year, although you think it's just a little bit, those bad bugs are harbored at the blood brain
I was
barrier.
just gonna say it's,
Eventually, that blood brain
yeah, that's what
breaks
I'm,
down, gets into
mhm.
now you're talking about amyloid plaques, tau tangles, and Alzheimer's disease process.
Wow. So basically, your hygienist and dentist could be your first line of prevention for a lot of diseases that take a lot of people out later in life. Hmm. So what
So
should,
this is a really great topic, Kary.
yeah,
This
yes.
is a great topic because we are more likely to have Alzheimer's disease. It's
Mm-hmm.
like 90 million people right now
Mm.
have. In North America, it's at least 90 million
And
have
there's a direct
some
link with oral health.
yeah, imagine
Yeah.
that bacteria is harboring at the blood-brain barrier. And
Mm.
then it just can't resist it anymore. So
Yeah.
now you get Alzheimer's.
Wow. Wow. So, you've got me thinking. I'm sure our listeners are thinking, okay, these are some things I didn't think about. And I was like, oh, yeah, bone health. But how often are we thinking about the bone around our teeth? And how often are we thinking about the soft tissue in our mouth versus the soft tissues down there getting dry? And so, oral health is huge. It's important. So, tell us, Debbie, at home, what things should I be doing for my oral health? And then,
Mhm.
how often should I be seeing my hygienist, my dental practitioner? And yeah, give us some tips on
Okay,
what to do.
so great. The first thing I would recommend is think, when was the last time you saw your hygienist? So if it's been over 6 months, you definitely want to have a comprehensive exam
Hmm.
with a full series of x-rays. In the last 3 years, if you're 55,
Mm.
I would recommend that in the last 3 years, you've had a full series. It's either 16, 18 x-rays, so they
Okay.
can see each tooth and the bone level. So
Mm.
I would recommend that first to get an evaluation.
So the dental x-rays are showing if there's bone wear, like they can tell. And
Yes.
and how important is that? Because that can be indicative of you should be getting a DEXA scan for overall bone health, right?
Yes, yes.
Oh,
Yeah. Have you
wow.
had a DEXA?
No, I have not yet.
You really should have one ASAP. I'm telling you ASAP
Yeah,
if you
I'm gonna
can.
I'm gonna look into it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, by 55, I had one. You
Uh-huh.
should have a baseline DEXA, and
Okay.
it will tell you where
The
is
changes.
bone.
Yeah.
Yeah, it will tell you. So, yeah, I had an injury on my left hip,
Hmm.
L5, I believe.
Mm,
And so you can see there's some deterioration there.
mm,
But the same thing is going to happen with the radiographs at the dental office for your
mm.
oral cavity. So
Wow.
I would suggest that you have an evaluation. But for those of you listening, if you do nothing else, take some dental floss and go through some of your teeth. If you notice bleeding, you've got inflammation.
And tell
And
us, let's get down and dirty here. You go through your teeth, and what if it stinks?
yeah, that's not a good sign. That's just as
Like,
bad as
right? And I mean,
bleeding.
we might as well say it. Like sometimes you hit a spot in your teeth, and maybe you haven't flossed for a day or two, and oh, it smells. But like, definitely, there's something going on
Yeah,
there,
that's
right?
gross.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's
yeah,
something going on.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's like the refrigerator with the food not being taken out in the last 3 months.
mm,
Yeah, same thing's going on in your mouth.
yeah, yeah. I definitely love flossing. I love,
Yeah,
I
yeah, and
check just to make sure there's no off smells on there.
you're so funny.
I do. I'm like,
And you know what? The other thing is gut health. Gut health. What's going on in your gut is your new brain.
right? And I was thinking when you were talking about the acid reflux, it would probably have something to do with gut health, which changes. I mean, I can't tolerate some things that I used to be able to. I can't tolerate alcohol the way that I used to be able to. And
Uh-huh.
I easily like get gassy or bloated with certain foods now. And
Yes.
that
Yes.
sucks.
It sucks. Yeah. It totally sucks.
So what else? What else? How often should I be brushing? Like I get my kids to do it before they go to school and then before they go to bed. Me myself, I won't leave the house without a brush, so I probably get 3 or 4 a day. Like,
Yeah, definitely before you leave the house in the morning.
hmm.
Um, and then also at night. The most
That's
important
the
time
minimum.
is at night before you go to sleep,
Yeah.
because while you're asleep, the bad bacteria, the bad bugs,
Mm.
they're making love with each other.
Ah.
They're replicating babies. They're making
Uh. So the nighttime floss and brush is the most
most
important.
important.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. That's what I've been teaching my kids is
And imagine, because when we're asleep, everything slows down. So
mhm.
now you're most likely to have dry mouth, which is
Mm.
really harmful to you when you're sleeping.
Ah, yeah, never thought about that. So we should go see our how often are you recommending people in the prime time, like over 50, let's say? Should I be going in quarterly? I know some people will go every 3 months, or is that really dependent on the health of your mouth?
Yeah, good question. So, what I teach dental professionals is that we want to have an end point to the inflammatory process. So, if you have oral inflammation, it's not just one and done. You want to have it treated. And after the treatment, when they think the treatment is complete, remember there's every 28 days, we have a renewal epithelial cells.
Mm-hmm.
So for somebody who's 50 years of age or older, definitely 4 weeks later, after they've treated with oral, gum treatment, 28 to maybe 45 days later, you want to have them come, I would say 28 days later, have that person come back and reevaluate. You're going
Mm,
to remeasure and check the health of the gums
mm,
because we want to make sure that we put a halt to the inflammation in the mouth.
mm-hmm.
Only if we put the halt to the inflammation in the mouth do we possibly put a halt to the inflammation in our body. One other thing you made me think of, Kary, the highest level of treatment is this. If your hygienist can use a soft tissue diode laser. So the
Mm,
diode laser is like a red LED light on
mm-hmm.
steroids. And
Mm,
what it's doing is it's stimulating, it's boosting the mitochondria of the cells. And inside the mitochondria is the ATP. And what happens is when you have inflammation, ATP dies off.
yeah.
And that's why we have all these inflammatory diseases, oral and systemic. And that's why we get Alzheimer's disease. The end result of Alzheimer's is the ATP in the neurons has died.
Wow. Yeah. Mitochondrial health, so important. And I never thought of mitochondrial health and my oral health in the same thought. Thank
Yes,
you.
so the soft tissue diode laser is like the BFF for hygienists to use when there's oral inflammation.
Okay, amazing. Wow. Now, if I'm there and they're noticing inflammation in my oral cavity, what's going to happen? Like, what is going to be a treatment plan, or if there's a lot of
Yes.
inflammation, bleeding?
Yes. Great question. I would suggest, first have your hygienist, tell you what they're doing, what do those numbers mean that they're calling out.
Mm,
If you have a lot of fours and a lot of bleeding, that is telling you that you have the start of gum inflammation and gum
mm,
disease. And at 4, if the pocket depths measure 4 millimeters and there's no radiographic bone loss, you can reverse the disease. And that would be your best situation. At that point in time, the next thing that they would do that day, I would suggest that your hygienist go around each tooth, and it's called laser bacterial reduction. It's with
wow.
the soft tissue diode laser,
Yeah.
and they're going around each tooth. It's painless. You don't feel
Mm,
anything, but it's zapping those bad cells. It's disinfecting. It's helping to boost the ATP in your cells, and those cells in your mouth go through your bloodstream and affect the other cells in your
mm-hmm,
body.
mm-hmm.
They'll do a little bit of the scaling with the instruments, maybe a little bit of polishing,
Yeah.
show you like, are you brushing? Most patients, when I work as a dental hygienist, I notice most people do not know how to brush their teeth. They're just
Mm-hmm,
going like this. And
mm-hmm.
there's a method to the madness of brushing your teeth.
And they're
Where do
never
you start? Where do you end?
and they're never doing it long enough, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So
Okay.
I love the power toothbrush with the
Yes.
timer.
Yeah, 100%. I have one last question and then we'll end this because I could probably talk to you for another
I
hour, but
know we
this
could
is
go on another
exciting.
hour.
Yeah. Okay. Should we use mouthwash? And if we should,
Oh,
what do you recommend?
another great question. So this is a great, great question, Kary. And again, I could go on for 20
It just
minutes.
popped into my mind.
Well, I want to tell you, alcohol in the mouthwash is not your friend. Alcohol, anything with an OL, sorbitol, maltitol, it's going to mess with your gut. It's going to dry out your mouth.
Mm.
So I know that you like, does Isogenics have a mouth rinse?
No, we don't have anything in
Okay.
isogenics, but what about something at home like using sea salt, warm water? I mean,
Warm salt water, that would be good. You could mix that up. Warm water with a little bit of salt and swish with that.
okay.
So there are other, like chlorine dioxide. It's something that was used in Europe decades, 40 years ago, to sterilize and keep the bacteria count down. And chlorine dioxide helps keep the plaque off your teeth. I consider it to be non-toxic. So you can search on Amazon for a non-alcoholic mouth rinse. Chlorine dioxide does help with keeping plaque off your teeth. It is safe to use. There are some holistic products without alcohol that might
Okay.
have some coconut oil or, things like, and I'm not into that oil pulling.
But somebody could go to their local, like a Whole Foods or their local health food store and ask if there's
Yes,
any
yes,
natural mouthwash
yes,
type product that doesn't have alcohol would be the key.
yes, the OL with the
OL at
end,
the end.
maltol, sorbitol,
Alcohol.
sucralose. Do not use those. It's going to mess with your gut health. It's not healthy for you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for all this amazing information, Debbie. And once again, if you want to follow Debbie on LinkedIn, it's Debbie, Debbie, and Seidel, Debbie Seidel. And remember to plug yourself into the Pause app. Go to the App Store, download the Pause, and you can start using our 24/7 AI Coach Harmony. And there are trackers in there for exercise, for alcohol. And we also have the amazing website called thePause.ai, where you can have some free downloads to discover more about menopause. Thanks, Debbie, so much for coming.
Yeah, thank you for having me.